The North Cascades National Park is located in northern Washington state, and it's known as the deadliest national park in the country. 3 hours outside Seattle, the park boasts lush vegetation and alpine peaks. However, danger lurks among the mountainous terrain, limited roads, and scattered outposts. There has been an unprecedented increase in the number of visitors to our national parks in the last few years. Tragically, this will likely mean an increase in the number of those who go missing. Previously, it was estimated that over 1,600 people have gone missing in our national park systems. However, there is no central database for these cases, so there's no way of knowing the actual number of those who have vanished. David Paulides, a former law enforcement officer and investigative journalist, began to compile and profile these cases, eventually developing the Missing 411. For those interested in a complete history of Paulides, the Missing 411 profile, and potential theories, a link to the first video in this series can be found in the description below. The following are 3 select cases of those who have disappeared in the North Cascades National Park: Rachel Lakoduk, Tom Simonseth, and Ritchie Collins. This is Missing 411 National Park Disappearances Volume 3. Rachel Lakoduk was a 28-year-old from Moses Lake, Washington. She was 5'4", 130 pounds, recently separated from her husband and living with her father. Although times had been tough, Lakoduk seemed in good spirits. On October 17th of 2019, she packed a backpack with her clothes and sleeping bag. She drove her white Jeep Cherokee to the Hidden Lake Trail in North Cascades National Park. She registered her hike at a ranger station, parked her vehicle at the trailhead, and struck out for the Hidden Lake Lookout Cabin. Her plan was to spend the night in the cabin for her 28th birthday. The day after, she planned to meet a friend in Bellingham, but she would never arrive. The trail was a little over 8 miles in length, but climbed a steep 3,300-foot elevation. Around 4 p.m., 2 hikers encountered Lakoduk about 2.5 miles into her hike. They warned her that the trail was obscured by snow further ahead, and they had turned back due to poor conditions. They recalled that Lakoduk seemed to be poorly dressed for the hike, wearing only thermal tights and a long-sleeved shirt. A storm hit that afternoon, and when Lakoduk didn't show for her plans in Bellingham, her family reported her missing. Search teams began quickly, but heavy precipitation and fog impacted their efforts. They struggled even to reach the lookout cabin, and when they finally did, the undersheriff reported that Lakoduk had likely never made it. Search efforts continued for 10 days with 137 volunteers, spending roughly 2,000 man-hours. Canine teams, foot patrols, and aerial units all participated in the search. Lakoduk's remains weren't discovered until August 14th, 2021. Her sleeping pad and backpack were discovered under a tree, 3 hard miles away from the road and well off the trail. The results of the autopsy have yet to be released. Lakoduk's disappearance meets several of the Missing 411 profile criteria. The time of her disappearance was in the late afternoon, and it occurred in the geographical cluster within the North Cascades National Park. Severe and inclement weather coincided with her disappearance and interrupted the search. Near the Hidden Lake Trail is a large body of water. Search and rescue teams were unable to discover her tracks despite disappearing into fresh snow. Lastly, search and rescue dogs were unable to pick up her scent on the trail. Tom Simonseth was a 66-year-old man from Mount Vernon. He was described by friends as very athletic and familiar with the outdoors. After retiring from a career in education, he took up hiking with encouragement from two of his closest friends. Simonseth was familiar with the Hidden Lake Trail. He had previously tried the trail multiple times, but he was always deterred by the snow. Less than a year after Lakoduk's disappearance, Simonseth tried the trail again on May 22nd. He told his wife he would return by 7 p.m. that night. Two hikers on the mountain encountered Simonseth on the trail. Just as with Lakoduk, these two hikers had turned back because conditions were worsening further ahead. It has been speculated that Simonseth likely followed their footprints and made a choice to turn back as the snow worsened. His wife reported him missing, and two friends began to search the area that night. They had mountaineering experience and over 20 years of search and rescue experience between the two of them. They knew Simonseth didn't have the equipment to survive the night, and they hurried to the site to find his car still parked at the trailhead. They searched the area until midnight, then slept nearby until the earliest sign of daybreak. Search and rescue teams from Skagit and other nearby municipalities participated in the search the next morning. Even units from the U.S. Border Patrol and Navy participated in the search. Helicopters from Spokane County flew the area while ground teams combed the difficult terrain. Search and rescue efforts were interrupted by snow and impaired visibility. However, they continued their search for days, looking for signs of an avalanche or particular tree wells where Simonseth could have been swept away. On July 29, 2021, the Snohomish County Sheriff's helicopter team recovered remains that are thought to be those of Simonseth. However, identification is still pending. The case of Tom Simonseth fits several of the missing 411 profile points. He was described by friends as athletic and familiar with the outdoors. His disappearance occurred shortly after encountering the two hikers that afternoon. He disappeared from the same Hidden Lake Trail in North Cascades near the same area where Lakoduk disappeared. Snow and impaired visibility occurred around the time of his disappearance and during search and rescue efforts. The Hidden Lake Trail is also near a large body of water. Search and rescue teams were unable to find any tracks from Simonseth. Lastly, search and rescue dogs were unable to pick up any scent. On April 30th, 2019, detectives arrived at the Colonial Creek campground in the North Cascades National Park after receiving a report from National Park Service rangers that a vehicle had been parked in the area for several weeks. The vehicle was a Honda Element that belonged to Ritchie Collins. Collins was 6'1" and 275 pounds. He was a father and a 58-year-old veteran with 23 years of military service and experience in Border and Customs Patrol. He was not known to be a camper or a hiker. He had high blood pressure and a bad knee. The vehicle showed clear signs of not having left the area, and detectives discovered the key on the roof with no other sign of Collins. On the passenger seat, a map of the Cascade Mountains was open. While press and news reports are limited, Brittany Collins reported that New Halem Rangers searched a 7-mile radius around the vehicle, bringing cadaver canine units as well. The Colonial Creek campground has a reservoir over 300 feet deep, and it was reported to have been dredged in the search for Collins' body. After speaking with Collins' daughter, detectives discovered that his large collection of firearms was also missing. Over 35 weapons had been removed from the home. The gun cases themselves had been left behind and strewn about as if the place had been ransacked. Brittany Collins believes his collection was stolen and his car had been ditched in the area by the perpetrator or perpetrators. Collins' brother, Randy, reported that the apartment was in absolute disarray upon entering. This was uncharacteristic for Ritchie, who was fastidious in nature. Collins was described as a loner, often keeping to himself. It wasn't uncommon for him to go days or weeks without being heard from. Reports of the last sighting of Ritchie place him with a small book bag leaving his home, but the timelines are mixed, placing the sighting in early March or late April. It was later discovered that the gun safe had been pried open, but detectives theorized these pry marks were made by Collins. A professional estate manager and trustee took over Collins' property, but in an unfortunate twist of fate, they quickly sold all his belongings and home. On July 6th, several children discovered partial remains near the 4th of July campground in North Cascades. It was 5 miles away from the parking lot at Diablo Lake, where Collins' car was found. Nearby were some of Collins' belongings, which were used to identify him. However, his head was missing. The autopsy has yet to be completed. While unique, the case of Ritchie Collins shares many similarities with the missing 411 profile. He was an overweight and disabled veteran, unlikely to pursue an extensive hike in the North Cascades National Park. The time of his last sighting was reported to be midday. Several other disappearances have occurred at Diablo Lake. In October of 2020, Alexander Pish disappeared after setting up an easel to paint a landscape. His remains have never been recovered. Additionally, the Diablo Lake campground is less than 30 miles away from Hidden Lake Trail, where Lakoduk and Simonseth both disappeared. The site of Collins' disappearance was at Diablo Lake, near a large body of water. His cause of death has yet to be determined. Search and rescue teams could not find a trail of Collins when searching the area around his vehicle. Similarly, cadaver dogs uncovered no scent of Collins during their search. The tragic disappearances of Rachel Lakoduk, Tom Simonseth, and Ritchie Collins are shrouded in mystery. The missing 411 profile does not solve or explain their cases, it only connects them. Looking for answers, we are left with only questions.